Hi guys, it's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zickery of Space Command. And for those who don't know, we succeeded in our Kickstarter campaign. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We still have Patreon if you want to continue supporting us, and you can buy Space Command shares for $7,500 or half shares for $3,750. We're actively building sets. We are actively working on completing what we have in post. Many cool things going on. Also getting ready to do the table read of Sweet Haven, the show I'm creating with Rockne O'Bannon. Many other things going on, but I wanted to share with you several things. First of all, one of the perks we had was the Art of Mark Zickery book, and I thought, for those of you who don't know, I was always drawing and painting and sculpting and writing when I was a kid, and I knew I'd either be a writer or an artist when I was a kid. And so I went to UCLA as a painting, sculpture, graphic arts major, and was very active doing my artwork from when I was a little kid to when I was in my early 20s. Then I stopped doing artwork to get good at writing. And so, but the Art of Mark Zickery book will collect a lot of my artwork from my life, and I had gallery shows and all that stuff, and so forth. So this is actually a sketch I did of ObiWan Kenobi when I was around maybe 21, and this is just when Star Wars came out, and so that's kind of fun, and that'll be in the book. But also, during the weekend, I watched two movies, and one was better than I thought it would be, and the other was not as good as it might have been. So let me go over these two films. One's a new film and one is an older film that somehow I never got around to seeing. So, and by the way, someone mentioned that I didn't reference A Fantastic Voyage in my history of science fiction, that I've gotten up to the end of the 60s, and definitely we will talk about Fantastic Voyage. It's a really fun movie, and we'll get to it. So thanks for pointing that out. It did fall through the cracks. So the movie I watched that was actually better than I thought it would be, because some movies you think, oh God, I've seen that a million times. It's a film called Project Power, and it was on Netflix. It is on Netflix. Kind of big action film, and the basic notion is that there's an illicit drug that can give you superpowers, but until you take it, you don't know what your superpower is. And it's about these various characters who get enmeshed in that. And it stars Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and a young girl named Dominique Fishback, a teenager, who is very good. Courtney Vance is also in the film. And it was it was a surprise. I thought it would be kind of terrible, putrid, kind of filling in the blanks and paint by numbers. And instead it was actually very lively, very fun. Not a classic, but definitely entertaining, and lots of twists and turns of character and all sorts of stuff. And so I really enjoyed it. So so you can enjoy it too. And also it had several black characters, and again the fact that we're starting to see films that have more black characters is great. And also, again, in non-stereotypical roles, in interesting roles, was swell. So so I can recommend that. Now, the other film we came upon, because again, the fun part about the modern day is that via YouTube, via Amazon Prime, via all these different platforms, you'll suddenly see films that are offered that either you haven't seen before, that you haven't seen in a long time, and or that you didn't even know existed. So the one that Elaine and I watched was Final Countdown, which is from 1980. Interestingly enough, one of the four writers on it is Jerry Davis. Jerry Davis created the Cybermen on Doctor Who. He was actually a friend of mine in the late 80s through the 90s until his death. And he was a very nice man, big guy, very tall, and liked to sing. He took singing lessons, had kind of a voice like Paul Robeson. Of course, only Paul Robeson had a voice that was like Paul Robeson's, but he had basso profundo voice, and really a very nice guy. I'm very glad I got to know him. And so the Final Countdown came out in 1980. It's yet another science fiction film, and it stars Kirk Douglas, Martin Sheen, Catherine Ross from Stepford Wives, Charles Durning, and James Ferrantino. A great cast. And the basic notion, it takes place on a modern aircraft carrier on the Nimitz, nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. And it's the basic notion was that it suddenly goes through this time storm and finds itself back immediately prior to Pearl Harbor. Now, interestingly enough, this was a similar plot to The Time Element, which was Rod Serling's first pilot script for The Twilight Zone, in which William Bendix finds himself back in time and tries to warn people of the impending Japanese attack. And it was written to be the Twilight Zone pilot. It was an hour script, and it was done ultimately as a Desilu Playhouse episode, and that got enough audience and mail draw to get CBS to agree to make another Twilight Zone pilot, and off we go. Now, in that episode, William Bendix, of course, is not successful in warning everyone about Pearl Harbor because he has no proof, and he's, seems like a madman. In this, of course, there's the aircraft carrier, a modern aircraft carrier with jets, and there's some fun dogfights with Japanese Zeros. It's really fun. It's a fun movie. It's a little lethargic in its pacing, but the actors are quite wonderful, and it's kind of fun to watch. The challenge, of course, is that it really has only two directions it can go. Either they fail to avert Pearl Harbor, and our time frame, history remains as it is, or they can intercede and change the timeline potentially. Now the fun plot, if they were going to do it now, the fun plot would be that they actually take it on. They defeat the Japanese. Pearl Harbor doesn't happen. And with their advanced technology, they're able to defeat the Nazis and the Japanese in short order, and we have a completely different timeline. That would have been fun to see, but of course, I don't want to spoil the ending, but let's just say that that's not the direction the movie goes. It's a fun idea. It would be a very interesting film to remake now and do the other version, which would be definitely more entertaining. And with films and TV shows like Man in the High Castle and many others, we are having alternate history stories. And of course, the thing they could point out, because the question is, should we mess with time? Should we blah, blah, blah? And, the point they could make is, well, there's the theory of parallel worlds, and there becomes certain junctures where we can go down either way, and we can go down both, actually. It's sort of like what JJ played with in his Star Trek movie. It's like, we're now in a different timeline, so we can do whatever we want. But it was fun to see this cast working with each other. Martin Sheen, was young, and that was around the time he did Apocalypse Now. And, he'd done that a little earlier. And, of course, he was in The Outer Limits, in a wonderful episode. He's a wonderful actor. Catherine Ross, of course, was in Stepford Wives, which is a terrific movie if you've never seen it. It was one of the inspirations for Get Out. And it's fun to, because then you go on to IMDb and you see and I met Charles Durning, by the way, my friend Doug Hayes, who directed Twilight Zone, Eye of the Beholder, and Howling Man, and so forth. He had various dinner parties, and Charles Durning was at one of these. Durning was a very nice guy, wonderful actor. You can see him in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and tons of other films and TV shows. And James Ferrantino was a TV actor of that period, married to Michelle Lee. And he was a very, very good actor, always solid, and he's good in this too. And it's fun because it sends you on to IMDb and you see, well, who's alive, who's not. And we just lost Kirk Douglas, I think, at 102, and he was an amazing actor. If you haven't seen Spartacus or some of his other great films, immediately check them out. But and Martin Sheen, fortunately, is still with us. Amazingly, Catherine Ross is still with us. She's 80. And so now that I'm writing Sweet Haven, when you see an actor or actress who's like a senior citizen but still with us, it's like, maybe I should put them in Sweet Haven. We'll see. But so that's the main stuff for now. We're going to continue working on Space Command, moving forward on Space Command, getting more of it to you. Amazon is considering various projects of ours at this point. We're going to be connecting up with a number of our friends at various networks and just seeing what we can make happen. Elaine is finishing the rewrite on Harbor, which is a terrific Twilight Zone kind of show that Amazon has agreed to read. Because they're looking for a Field of Dreams kind of story, and this very much is that. And so that's about it for now. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to see on Mr. Sci-Fi, just, comment or email me at markzikwiji@gmail.com. Lots of fun stuff coming. You may notice that I have my Rod Serling model behind me with the Twilight Zone companion in his book, More Stories from the Twilight Zone. It's because yesterday they had the Serling Fest, and I was interviewed for that via Zoom, which is a new thing that everyone now is using, which is great. And It was fun. It was fun talking about Rod. We're going to post that interview sometime. The dogs are here, of course. Well, maybe that's a sign for me to close out Mr. Sci-Fi. But it's but I'll be posting that very soon. So that's about it for now. The dogs need attention, and we will talk very, very soon. Bye, guys. Take care.